everyone, and welcome to this conversation presented by White House Custom Color. I'm Jed Toffer. Thanks for listening. You know, my wife Vicki and I have owned and operated our photography studio, V Gallery, for 20 years now. White House has been our lab for the last 16 of those years, and we could not be happier. White House is a family-run business, just like ours. If you haven't already, check them out at whcc.com. And if you want to drop me a line, feel free to email me at jed@whcc.com. There are some states that, for whatever reason, have risen above the others in terms of the amount of talent they've produced in our industry. In my 20-year tenure, Wisconsin is one of those states, and Dan Frievalt is one of those creatives. In an era where it's harder than ever to be different and stand out, Dan succeeds at doing just that. And he makes it look easy, which is especially impressive when you consider the sheer amount of talent in his own state. Listen in as we discuss Dan's thoughts about being different, as well as quite a few ideas about how to run a better business. Who are you?
Dan Frievalt.
Now, somebody told me last night that, because they said Frievalt or Frievalt to me, and I said, I thought it was Frievalt, but I was like, well, I don't know which one is it. And they said, he doesn't even know.
That is a true statement.
Just elaborate a second for me on that, because I'm super curious about that.
Super curious, yes. So I grew up Frievalt, and when I got into the photography industry, whenever I said Frievalt, I would say it fast, and most people didn't get it. And my older brother started saying Frievalt, and so when I started saying Frievalt, everyone just got it. So I kind of like, I'm going to go with Frievalt.
So you sort of changed your name.
I sort of, and the plot thickens.
Okay.
Because then I had someone come to my studio who had spent some time in Germany, and they're like, well, that's German. And the way it's spelled, it should be Frievalt. I'm like, well, there you go. It should have been Frievalt the whole time.
So you're pronouncing it correctly is what they were saying.
Well, then, okay, level 3 with the story goes.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah. You said real quickly.
I opened up a can of worms.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
I'm down.
But it's good because now everyone will hear the story.
Mm-hmm.
So then someone else who was from Germany sent me a Facebook message and said, your name was probably Frievalt back in the day.
Sure.
And then it got switched to Frievalt, the W
Right.
and the V.
Right.
So
that's where it comes from.
yes.
But you go by Dan Frievalt.
I now go by Dan Frievalt. Yes.
Okay, Dan Frievalt. Tell me a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do, etc.
Sure. Yeah. I am from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I shoot primarily, or 100% pretty much, high school seniors.
Are you a cheesehead?
Well, I love the Packers,
You do.
but I don't really consider myself a cheesehead.
You don't take on the cheesehead moniker and you love the Packers?
Yeah.
What's the difference?
I think the difference is when you grow up in that area, you just go to games and party.
Right.
But the people who come in, they get into like wearing the actual cheese head. So I feel like because I don't put the actual cheese
Because
head
you
on.
won't put it on?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I could be wrong. You could talk to someone
You don't want to
else.
mess up your hair.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. So you're not a cheese. Okay. Well, I ask because I hate the Packers. I'm embarrassed a little bit because you love them, and you're from Green Bay.
Well, I mean, this is all we have in Green Bay. So you have to do it.
I'll tell you this. We went up there for a tour stop, a White House tour stop, and it was at Lambeau Field.
I remember.
It was awesome. And I had never been there. But not only just because, Lambeau, like I hate the Cubs, but Wrigley Field is, it's incredible, right?
Yes.
Lambeau Field, same thing with me. Like I can't stand the Packers, but I loved Brett Favre. I loved Aaron Rodgers. Love Aaron Rodgers. He's still playing. And I love Lambeau Field. It's right in the middle of like a neighborhood. It's like right off 3rd Street. Oh, there's Lambeau Field right in front of my house.
Yes.
And I'd never realized that before. It's just right in somebody's neighborhood.
It's right there. And those homes now are going for
$1 billion.
Yeah. It's
I can't even imagine
Yeah.
how that has helped their property value being right next to the field.
And people will buy those homes, or they've kind of kept them in the family through the years because
course.
they'll park cars there and
make ludicrous amounts of money 8 times a year.
Yeah. It's crazy. And they'll rent out their garages and for people to tailgate.
Of course.
Yeah. So you have parking, and then you have a garage and a bathroom, and you can walk right then to the stadium. And
because you can go right inside to use okay. All right. That's all making more sense. That's awesome.
Yeah. Which I'm like you, like I've been to several baseball games at Wrigley because it's a thing. I've been to a game at Notre Dame. I'm not a Notre Dame fan, but that is legendary.
The experience of the venue.
Yes.
Is awesome.
Yes.
I apologize for the digression. I just had to get that out there, kind of. So you have something to talk about, but I don't know what it is.
Correct.
I'm curious now. I'm ready.
You're curious?
I'm ready.
Well, it's just about being different.
Okay.
I think that's always been my mantra with photography, and maybe even looking back at my life. I've always kind of looked at things a little bit different and done things a little bit different to be unique and stand out. And, that gets thrown around a lot.
It does.
Yeah.
So how are you different about being different?
Just, and different can be a lot of different things.
Of course, it's a big spectrum.
Yes. So I think if people know my work, they think, oh, he does these composites and does all these crazy wild things. And it didn't always really start that way. It kind of did because I was first a graphic designer before, or a graphic artist before a photographer.
Right.
So to hide a lot of things with my photography, I would kind of put stuff on.
Okay.
And, kind of like, or retouch and do different things.
Right.
And like, okay, now this looks different. Or
Right.
Like, and that's hiding everything. So people are like, started saying, oh, that's different. That's cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kept growing. And in the meantime, I kept working on the down low, like getting my photography and my lighting and everything better.
Right.
And then there was a period where I'm like, oh, I got to add a texture to this, or I got to do this. And I'm like, well, no, it looks good the way it is.
Well, that was like part of the phase, wasn't it? Where, those didn't exist. And then I remember at the very beginning, people were calling them blends or textures then, or overlays or whatever. And then like we got into that big phase for a while. And then at some point you realize, or at the very least, that's way too strong. Dial it back a little bit.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's been like part of that trajectory. How much of being different for you has looked like that, where it was like, didn't exist, then it was a big thing, and then it's like, no, in order to be different, I can't do it that way anymore.
Yeah, and I think being different with this industry, because it's changing so fast, is like, I'm always trying to see
what's coming next for yourself and nobody else.
Exactly.
How the heck do you do it?
Yeah.
The $1 million question.
It is, right? Yeah. And thank goodness, and I don't know, my wife might disagree with you, but my mind's always going like, hey, what if I do this? And what about that? And let's do that. And she's like, just reel it in a little bit.
Yeah, rein it in. Right?
Yeah. So, I'm always looking at different things and what to do. And some things with different can be just making sure you call people back, or
that's actually that is different these days.
Yes.
Good customer service is different, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But people notice it, right?
They do. So, it's not just necessarily, like now I'm into the composite, thing. And with seniors, I think we can get away with being a bit more trendy. I know there are a lot of photographers that have taught me mentored me through the years, have talked about the timeless portrait, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Drop some of those names, because that's not compositing. Drop some of the timeless portrait people that have mentored you.
Fuzzy Dunkel.
Yep.
Darton Drake.
Yes.
Carl Kaler.
Those all good Wisconsin and Upper Peninsula.
Yes.
Because Carl's from the UP, but
we kind of
they're all like right there.
They're right there.
Right, those are your boys.
Yeah, those are the ones that I would say for timeless.
Yeah,
timeless portraiture, beautiful natural light, gorgeous light.
Do you feel like that is a necessary and important foundation for your work? Is that piece? So you do the composites, I get it, which you wouldn't consider necessarily traditional, right? But the foundation of having that mentorship from all of them to give you a really good sense of lighting and maybe the fundamentals, so to speak, is that where that comes from, like those guys?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And, you know, I every time I look at like Fuzzy's work and Carl's stuff, and I've shot with them still, and I'm like, how do you do it? Like I still, I could watch Fuzzy. I could do a training session with Fuzzy countless times, and I have countless times.
And he's just super cool.
Yeah.
Just in general, he's just fun to be around.
Yeah. Yes. And it's like, he's got that dry sense of humor that,
it's
that I love.
dry as a bone. Every so often I feel a little uncomfortable, and then I think to myself, that's what he wants.
Yes.
He wants you to a little bit.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, they are masters, and so you've gotten a lot of your foundation for your composites from them.
Absolutely.
Then how have you, like, what did the transition look like? Like when you decided, you know what, I'm going to take this and I'm going to use that for compositing.
Yeah. So, you know, Joe Grimes, you know,
There's the man.
Here's the man.
Yeah.
Everyone, I think, who got into this composite kick, in my opinion, he's kind of like the godfather.
He's something else.
Yeah. So like when I saw his stuff, I was like, wow, wow. And I'm like, I want to do that.
It still blows your mind when you see his stuff sometimes.
It still does.
Yeah.
And then you find out that he's colorblind and.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yes.
What?
Yes.
I don't even know how it works now.
Yeah.
I don't even get it.
And he used that. That's why his stuff is like sort of desaturated, that gritty desaturated.
I get
look.
the grittiness, but I it still blows my mind that he's colorblind.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's a new thing for me.
Yeah.
He is, though. He is so incredible at just like the concept of compositing, right?
Yes.
Who else do you look at when you're looking to be impressed by someone?
Well, the kind of cool thing, well, of course, Ben Shirk is a name as well, and Richard Sturdivant. The cool thing with and Dan McClanahan, Ben, Dan, and myself, and countless other people, first kind of cut our teeth on teaching with After Dark.
I remember.
Yeah. And we were all like the young kind of newbies and with this industry, but we had learned from these technical lighting guys, and we were all putting our spin on it. And we each challenged ourselves and pushed ourselves, and like all of a sudden everyone's like, wow, like looking back now, like, man, we didn't know what we were doing. I still don't know what I'm doing a lot, but it's like, wow, look at this stuff that we created.
But how important was it for you to have those guys where you're all kind of like pushing the bar higher and pushing the bar higher? Is that sort of what happened with all those fellas?
Yeah, I think like looking back, that's definitely what happened. Like we each we're competitive in a way, but good, super good friends.
Healthy competition. And we each made ourselves better. And we're teaching people, but at the same time, we're like, oh, what can we do here? That challenging each other at the same time.
Yeah. And encouraging too. It's like, I'd see something Ben shot or Dan, but like, oh my God, that's so cool. And then they're sending me a message like, dude, that image you just posted, or like, I saw you shooting out wherever at After Dark. I couldn't believe that's the coolest thing ever. And
it's got to feel good for both of you to have like the other person reach out and say that image was the bomb. Well
absolutely. Done. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you stay different then in that space? Like you were saying earlier, like you have to constantly be anticipating like what's next and what am I going to do next? When it comes to compositing, I feel like in a sense, the rule book is different, or maybe it doesn't even exist. Like with traditional fundamental portraiture, right? Like you get a sense for like, this is how you do this, and this is how you achieve this, and this is how to do this, and like understanding lighting in general or posing in general, right? But with compositing, it's not quite the same. So how do you look forward and think, I got to do something different? What's the process of that look like?
It's sometimes it just hits you, and then other times it's like, well, I can create a scene, like you have a vision in your head, and I'm like, that doesn't exist. So you have to make it. So I have to make it. And a lot of times, a lot of times the vision is so much more clear than the technical abilities that I have.
Does that happen a lot? Where
absolutely.
You think of something and then you like the challenge then becomes, how am I going to make that happen in a way, right, that is satisfactory?
Yes.
Essentially.
Yes.
Right, because you can see things in your mind, and then to some degree you can get to a point where you can create it. But then there's a huge spectrum at that point at creating it well. Is that fair to say?
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, and it's frustrating for me. Like I watch people these speed edits. I'm like, what the heck?
Oh yeah, dude.
Because like I don't start that way. I have a vision and I start doing it. I'm like, that doesn't work. I throw it away. That doesn't work. I throw it away. Oh, I get upset. I have to walk away for 2 hours. Really? Yes. And I have a short attention span. Yeah. So I'm like, I only have so much where I can concentrate. Like Richard, he loves getting in there and just working, and it's like therapy for him. I'm like, I'm 2 hours, I'm bored. Like this isn't coming together. I'm frustrated. I'm bored. Okay, I need to do something else.
What do you do in those situations? Like what's your plan B if you need to get away from the computer?
Well, this year I started something new. So I would just usually just walk away or just do my normal edits. Like I don't do just all composites. So I'm still doing the traditional with a fashion spin to the stuff, and then throwing in a composite or a montage or some effect. So I can go back to that, or I prepare something for an order session or place an order, things like that. So that was kind of my getaway. But because I've been doing that for so many years, it doesn't really help trigger the mind.
You need something else.
So I started doing abstract paintings this summer.
Like with the real brush and real paint, or all digital?
Real paint, not instead of a brush, a palette knife.
A palette knife?
Palette knife.
Okay. Keep going. I'm impressed.
Happy accidents.
I'm impressed.
Yes. So I do that. Yeah. So I also got into woodworking and like.
You get out of the medium completely, but you stay in a creative space.
I stay in my studio. So I have a space set up now where I have all the paints, and it's a cold wax medium, which a lot of people know like warm wax, like encaustics with photography. Right. And this is cold wax. So you're mixing the oil paint with a cold wax medium, and you're putting it on the board, and you're building up layers. And it's abstract, and you're scratching.
Can't you incorporate that with your photography? Can the two merge, or is it ne'er the two shall meet?
They can. I'm trying to keep them separate at this point.
You want to keep them separate.
I want to, but I think I can see the future heading where they do merge.
Right.
Yes.
That would make sense to me from a business. See, my mind, I just see dollar signs. You're the artist, and I'm further into my left brain.
I kind of switch a lot between the two.
Yeah, you go back and forth.
I really jump back and forth, which is part even more of my chaotic mind, because and I jump right in, because the how I got into the cold wax medium is we went on an art walk, and I saw some abstracts. I'm like, that's cool. And the lady's like, it's cold wax. And I'm like, what's cold wax? So I was like did the old Google when I got home, and looking at tutorials, and filled up my cart on Amazon with everything. And
then you're in.
The next day I'm in. And then my mind is going, oh man, I could enter these in art shows, and I could maybe photograph these and make textures out of them. I could make backgrounds out of them.
Lots of different applications.
I can sell them as art on Etsy. I'm on Etsy going, if it's $20 a piece, and I have the digital file. Right. And someone, maybe I shouldn't be telling my secret, but no, I'm like, they buy it on Etsy. So yeah, it might only be a $20 profit, but I can sell over and over.
You can sell it 100 times.
100 times. Right. I get the order in. I send it to White House. White House drop ships it to whoever. Beautiful. I'm not even dealing with it. It's done. It's done. So a little extra.
I like that.
So that's,
Hey, that's a good tip, everybody.
There's your tip. Next week on Etsy.
You're going to have like 100,000 competitors over the next year.
Well, there already is on Etsy. So that's kind of the downfall. It's already, there's a lot of abstracts on Etsy.
It's not much of a secret. You're right. Now, you mentioned your wife earlier. How do you guys work together?
We do not.
That is a decision that you've made, that she stays in her space and you stay in your space from a work standpoint.
Yes.
Like the business is yours.
Yes.
Do you have like employees or anything?
I do not.
It's only you.
It's only me.
By design.
By design, yes. Yeah,
Right.
I used to have employees. I used to have a larger studio, and I went off on my own, and I didn't have a need for studios didn't have a need for employees in the new studio because I didn't have as much work.
Right.
And then at the same time, a lot of places were popping up where I could outsource retouching.
Yes.
You could outsource even your color. Like a lot of things can be outsourced,
right,
and be more efficient and allow me to spend more time on the things that only I could do.
So you're doing that.
Yeah,
you're outsourcing a lot of stuff.
I call my employees like the
vendors
that I
with.
outsource to. Yes.
So many people still could do that. I think there's a lot of people that complain about, I'm editing till 3 a.m. or whatever. But I'm finding more and more people that at least I'm talking to are outsourcing all the time. Is it a no-brainer decision in your mind?
Yes. I mean, and even outsourcing, I think it's easy. Sometimes it's easy to think what I can outsource, but what other things am I doing that I can outsource? Like I do enjoy cutting the lawn. That's like meditation for me too. Yeah. But there's other things like cleaning the house and different things that I don't want to deal with. So fertilizing the lawn.
If you don't like it, but it needs to be done, you have somebody else do it.
You have somebody do it.
In a nutshell.
Yes. And if you look at the dollar per hour, there's some saying out there that says you'll never become a millionaire doing a $10 an hour job. I don't know if that's a true, that it's exactly right.
It takes longer.
Yeah. So it's like if you can make more money doing a session, even on a Saturday, which I don't want to work on a Saturday now either, but I would much rather work on a Saturday than to do a bunch of things I don't want to do that I could pay someone. I know I can make more money shooting a session on a Saturday.
And then you pay them a small portion of that. They do all the stuff that you don't want to do, and then you have the rest of the Saturday.
Yeah.
I get it. I see how I put all that together really fast.
Yeah, it was much more clear than what I did, so thank you.
That's my job, right?
Yeah, there's my creative mind. It makes sense up here.
I'm supposed to summarize it.
Yes, thank you.
All right, so I have I have a couple more questions. The first one is, what do you see coming up in the next year for you regarding being different?
I'm looking at some things as far as technology.
Is it secret?
Well, no, I don't think so. But because I don't really have it figured out yet.
Okay.
So, but like a lot of things I'm reading about the Gen Z and how they're so in tune to technology. So, and along with that, marketing to high school seniors, which I've been saying for quite a few years now, is like, I don't advertise because they're so used to being advertised to. So just being different is I'm not throwing a bunch of specials out and book with me. And even my model program isn't based on referrals. It's based on doing a funky fashion session, which is different.
Right.
So that doesn't have anything to do with composites.
Right.
So that's being different. Technology, they always have their phone. We know that, and social media. But how about things like even ordering? I'm a big believer in in-person sales.
Yeah.
But I'm looking at a couple different ideas of giving the option for online sales.
Man, if you can pull that off, everyone's going to want to know how.
Want to know how?
I mean, really.
Yeah.
If you can set that up in more of an online using technology / automated fashion and get the same or really close to the same, because you're kind of then outsourcing it to the internet, so to speak. If you can figure that out, I want to know.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I know. I was like, I think this is something that they really chew on. So yeah, I kind of have an idea of a simple idea and a more advanced idea, but my simple idea would be basically to say, $2,000.
Yeah.
You can we can do in-person ordering. There's no minimum. You want to do online ordering for convenience. It's $2,000. You pay up front, and then
you get like credit.
Yes,
they get that credit. They've paid it. They can go online then, because as far as you're concerned, you get an average, whether it's 2,000 or 5,000 or 400, but you get the money. Then they get that to use either with you or at their own convenience online.
Correct.
Did I spell that out right too?
You did, yeah. And of course, anything above 2,000, they just add to
Would
their
just
cart.
be an additional, right?
Yeah. But then at least you get your money if they screen capture and
Right.
do whatever. It's like
Right.
you have your money.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, and you could also have things in place from an automated standpoint for add-ons that
Yeah.
just kind of are there, or that they pop up, or whether they're on the side, or whether it's like what Amazon does. People also bought.
But
You know?
yeah. Or like I'm thinking like QuickBooks, like you have a question thing where they
Yeah.
answer
And then it
it's
directs them to certain.
things and take a picture of your wall and then all of a sudden that. I mean, that's way more advanced.
That's more complex, right?
Yeah.
But I'm liking it.
Yeah,
I'm liking it. You might be onto something.
Yeah, get White House cranking the software out. We'll be set.
Well, White House has got. We're developing Studio.
They do,
Yeah,
yes.
and that's a beautiful tool. That's super exciting. I was actually thinking of that as you were talking about the more involved option, so to speak. But I love it. I love it. Okay, I have 2 more questions. First one is, and I know you've heard this before 100 times. I want to know how intentional the James Hetfield look is. Just go ahead and tell me.
Well, another funny story. I was just in a trade show and a girl came up to me and said, I got to get a picture with you.
Yeah, dude.
And
she
I'm
will
like-
pull it off.
And I'm like, okay. Because your husband's a Metallica fan. And she said, oh, you've heard that before?
She knew it. She
Yeah.
knew it.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it totally unintentional. And the crazy part of this story is my wife is a huge Metallica fan.
She is
A huge Metallica
good
fan.
for both of you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
And you're not?
No, I never really grew up as a Metallica fan, and people were saying I look like James Hetfield and sending me
You really do.
photos and stuff, and it freaked me out because I'm like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I do look
Yeah.
like him.
Yeah.
And I never, in fact, they said when people first started saying, you know, do you look like James Hetfield? I didn't know who James Hetfield was.
You didn't even know.
I didn't even know who he was.
Right.
Which surprises the heck out of me or out of people when I say that.
I am also surprised.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did go to my first Metallica concert.
You
this
went and saw
summer.
him?
Yeah. And I'm like, oh goodness, I wanted to wear a hat because I'm like, people are going to be looking.
People are looking at you the whole time. That's awesome. Well, where can people find you? Where are you at online?
Online, my website is FrievaltPhotography.com. All my social media accounts are just Dan Frievalt, no space. That's my Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat. I'm most active on Instagram.
That's where people are going to see most of your content.
Yes.
Spell Frievalt for people.
F-R-I, E as in Edward, V as in Victor, A-L-T.
Awesome. Perfect. Hey, thanks for doing this, buddy.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it.
Right.
It was
Thanks
fun.
much.